Cut! 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 Okay, so that explains it. You don't juggle bobcats, you throw them. Hey guys, what is up? It's Antonio. Welcome back to another episode here on Gladiator Disc Golf. I'm super excited about today's video because we're doing something that I love to do with the discs in my bag, and that's beat them in and layer them. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of each of these two terms, beating in and layering a disc, let's go ahead and let's talk about what each of them mean. When we're talking about beating in a disc, we mean taking a disc as it starts and basically getting it to fly a little more neutral or understable versus out of the box. When we talk about layering a disc, we're taking several discs that are of the same mold, and basically each of them has a different stability. So today I want to walk you guys through which discs I layer in my bag and how I got them to beat in so well. The Bobcat is available in several different plastics. I have the Royal Soft here, I have the regular Royal here, I have Eternal here, I have a couple more Eternals at home, and I have some, I believe it's the Apex plastic. So I definitely have at least 4 different plastics. These are both Royal, but the Soft is definitely different from regular Royal. So when we're talking about beating in a disc, I have to talk to you about this one right here. This is the first Bobcat I started throwing when I decided to throw them again, and this thing is all kinds of warped and beat up. For me, the best way to beat in the disc is to just use it out on the course and in the field, and there's a couple reasons for that. One, you become super familiar with the disc and mold and flight path, and you start to find comfortable ways to hold it in your hand and different things that you can do with it. Also, the longer you throw it, the more familiar you become with it, so you have a better idea of what it's going to do every time you pick it up. And quite frankly, when you're beating in a disc out on the course, it's really cool to see how it slowly starts to change its flight over time. And that's one thing that I've noticed with this Bobcat. Does this thing still have fade at the end? A little bit. Does this thing turn? A lot of it. So I really like this pink Bobcat for hyzer flip forehands and for just having something that'll turn and hold the anhyzer line but has enough stability to finish flat. Now a disc up from that in terms of beating in is just my regular Royal Bobcat here. But I've been throwing this a lot more and I've been noticing I've been getting some nice turn out of it. It's not nearly as understable as the pink one, but it definitely has some good flight characteristics to it, and it has enough stability to still skip a little bit, but because it's that tacky Royal plastic, it's gonna stop pretty much as soon as it hits the ground. And then I have my Eternal Bobcat. Now this thing is still beefy, it's still overstable, but I find that it is slowly seasoning quite nicely. And the thing with all 3 of these discs is I haven't done anything special to them and beating them in or anything like that. I've just played with them out on the course and in the field, really trying to learn them. For pretty much all disc manufacturers, whether it's the run or the mold itself, things are going to fly a little bit differently, especially when you start mixing up some plastics. So the best way to really get familiar with the disc is to just go out and throw it. And it helps you just get more comfortable and familiar with it as well, so that you have a lot more confidence out on the course. In my explanations for beating in the disc and showing you the stabilities of these discs, basically I explain my layering process to you. These 3 discs basically make up my entire mid-range game, and I can do virtually anything I want to do with them. So when we're talking about layering, we're going from overstable, basically neutral, and then understable right here. And it really helps me feel confident in my bag and that I can just grab any one of these 3 discs and virtually do anything that I want to do when out on the course. So when I'm layering the plastic here, I've taken a much more overstable disc in the Eternal Bobcat and put it next to some Royal Bobcats here. Eventually what's going to happen, and this is the layering process, is that this disc will probably eventually either get lost, break, or just become way too understable for it to be consistently used. So it's gonna go out of the bag. This disc is probably going to take that disc slot And so it's going to, be a nice straight flyer, a little hyzer flip bobcat. And what'll probably happen by the time that's ready is this one's gonna start flying a little straighter. And when this one starts flying a little bit straighter, I'm gonna pop another Eternal or Apex Bobcat right next to it and have my 3 stabilities all over again. And then ideally what's going to happen is that orange one's gonna go out of the bag. This one's gonna be a straight flyer, maybe even a little understable. Now we're talking like a year and a half, 2 years from now probably. And there's going to be a nice straight flyer next to it and then an overstable flyer next to that. And so what's great is I know exactly what to expect from this disc, because by the time that happens, I'll have been throwing it for 2 to 3 years. So it'll be seasoned, it'll be super comfortable, and I'll know exactly what it's going to do every time I throw it. And when it comes to layering, not only do I get to collect a lot of the same discs and find cool stamps and just be super confident in my bag, but I never have to worry about losing a disc because I have one right behind it. And that's quite honestly a disc golfer's worst nightmare, is losing a disc that you're so reliant on. And when you have an understable, neutral, and overstable mid-range in your bag that are all 3 different molds, if you were to lose one of those, it can be pretty difficult to replacing it and get the same feel and same flight. But if you start layering your discs, you're going to be able to actually just push some discs up into the order and really start to have a nice system going. Basically, it'll start operating like a factory, and as discs become too understable for you, they'll just get pushed out and they become basically wall hangers at that point, or just some fun field throwing discs. So when it comes to beating in discs and layering them, I strongly recommend starting off with a neutral to overstable disc. It's important you don't use an understable disc, because an understable disc as it beats in will only get more understable, and then you're not going to be able to fill that overstable slot. So if you use something like a Mint Discs Bobcat, a Wall Cloud from Storm Discs, or something like a Rock 3 from Innova, you can get those discs in a variety of plastics and really layer them nicely so that you can get your mid-range slots filled perfectly. Now, is there anything wrong with having multiple discs for different slots of each class? No, there's nothing wrong if you want to rock a Buzz SS, a Buzz, and then a Buzz OS. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if you're wanting to reduce the number of molds, really start having like a factory-like system with your bag and getting super comfortable with just 1 mold at a time in each slot, you can really reduce your bag from like 15 molds down to maybe 6 or 7. I've seen people do it. It's something that I'm very close to doing, and it makes disc golf a lot of fun, because then you're not constantly looking for 15 different discs. You're looking for like 5 different discs. Go ahead and make sure you give this video a like if it's been informative and helpful for you. I really appreciate it, guys. Well, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, guys, have a great round.